Hello, and thanks for your patience. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and Coy Malone has been standing by while I've been having issues with my computer and changing and regrouping. But here we are. Coy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Sybil?
I have had better days, and I had a great day until about 30 minutes ago. So it's good to see you. How's your day been?
It's been fairly busy today.
Okay,
I
how
haven't had
so?
time to think. It's
Oh,
just been today. Usually Mondays are fairly busy in the office. A lot of people are coming in from the long weekend. We have people that are coming in from vacations. Typically on Mondays, there are a lot
hmm.
of meetings and what have you. A lot of new hires coming in, so that is a busy day in the technology world for computers that are being set up for brand new users and also computers having issues.
Got it. Okay. So you say in the tech world, so most Mondays are a flurry of activity.
Yes, these are people that have had probably computer issues like over the weekend or over the last week, and they decide, well, today's a great day to come into the office and get this fixed. So they all show up on
Uh,
Monday.
or as you say, new hires, or it could be any number of things in that, and people coming in off of vacation. Have you had a vacation lately?
I have not had a vacation lately.
Is that in your plan? It is summertime.
I know, right? I don't know, just kind of seeing where that fits in my schedule and finances and what have you.
Yeah.
Think we're gonna kind of wait a little bit until things ease up.
And I ask that
And we'll
because I
never
get
be.
that question all the time. When are you going on vacation? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that the time or the finances will allow that. So, uh, for the time being, it's not happening. And then a lot of people think that I'm on vacation anyway every day of my life. So I guess
That's because
that's
you're
the
doing
answer
what you
to that.
love.
Yeah, something like that. Um, so I feel as though I'm working every day. It's not a situation where it's just I'm doing what I feel like I'm involved with news in some form or fashion every single day. And so I can't say that I don't feel the need for a vacation, but I was just wondering about other people and how especially because you've been in this particular position for a few months,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. So I was just wondering how that works for people who have just started and have been on one job like with us for years and now starting a new job, and how does that work or how does that fit?
It just, you kind of go where they put you,
Yeah.
especially in technology. And I feel like I've been kind of thrown in the fire pit with the new role that I have inside of the new role. So it's like, yeah, I had a lot of responsibilities before, but now it's more front facing responsibilities. And what's being asked of me is something that has to be remedied like on a shorter, much shorter timeline. The level of urgency is much higher
Mhm.
now, especially when it's people's computers that they're working with, and this is how they get their work done, and
Right.
this is how they
And
communicate.
and your responsibility to make sure that everything is in working order for them.
Yes, so they don't have to come back, but in
So they
technology, they have to come back. There's always something that's going on. We can have a perfectly running system in the background, and then like today, nobody's software is installing, no matter what we do. So now there's something else on the back end going on that we have to correct with several different users system wide across the board.
I feel that way with Chica. I always hate, and
Mhm.
I said this yesterday. I always hate to infringe upon her time, but she's the guru who can make things happen. And up until a few hours ago, I was having no problems with my computer. I mean, absolutely nothing. I cleared out a lot of stuff and thought that I was, and at the assigned time, my alarm goes off and click on to go back because I turn everything off and turn it down. And I went in at 5:30, 5:40, and it wouldn't open. My Google Chrome would not open, and I tried it again. I tried with Safari, I tried with Firefox, and said it, that StreamYard, our communication base, doesn't work with work with these doesn't work with Safari. And so then, Chica and I had to go through a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's just so quizzical to me that, just in a matter of what seems like just a couple of hours, things just fell apart. So that's the goofy, wild world, I guess, of of computers and technology. So let's move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. That's something that a little bit more in my wheelhouse. This is our newsletter that we put out every Monday through Friday. This is our effort to super serve the African American community with stories for us and by us. And this is absolutely free. We'd love to have you subscribe. Please go to sybilwilkes.com and give us your name and your email address. We'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. And this is Coy Malone is our social justice contributor, and she talks about things that are of an injustice in this country. And Coy, your latest story is about the most recent death at an Atlanta area prison. This is a story that you have been looking at in reference to one particular person, and now another person has been reportedly found dead in their cell at this, and this time it was a woman as opposed to the young man that all of the attention has been focused on. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, so we recently brought you all the story of 35-year-old LaShawn Thompson, who died in his cell that was covered in trash, and he had several insect bites, including bed bug bites, all over his body when he was found dead on the psychiatric wing of the Fulton County Jail. Now we have a 19-year-old named Noni Batiste Kosoko, who is also Black. She was an inmate at the Fulton County Jail since May 20th on a misdemeanor bench warrant without a bond due to pending charges in Miami. She was being held there on charges of criminal trespassing and property damage after allegedly damaging walls and tables at Langston Hughes High School in February. So she was scheduled to appear in court on May 8th and failed to attend her court date, which is what led to her arrest. So on July 11th, shortly after 6:30 p.m., while officials were doing dinner rounds, this 19-year-old was found dead in her cell, unresponsive. And according to medical personnel and members of the Atlanta Fire Rescue Team who rendered aid to her, signs of injury. She was just dead in her cell.
Mm.
There's an autopsy that's expected to be performed by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. And because this has become a common issue with the Fulton County Jail, in particular, the U.S. Department of Justice is currently preparing a civil rights investigation into jails across Georgia, not just Fulton County. Because according to them, inmate jails in Fulton County face violence. Inmates at the jails in Fulton County face violence and unlivable cell conditions.
So obviously they're not doing their due diligence yet, and a lot of concern has been over the LaShawn Thompson case, and now they have to expand it to what happened to this young woman. Do you get any indication that she died as he did with the bed bugs and all of that?
To the reports or just getting the information that I have seen, that there were no signs of trauma or anything like that. There hasn't been any photos or details released in terms of the conditions of her cell in particular. All the reports that I have gathered thus far are just stating that she was found unresponsive in her cell after dinner. So I don't know who else is looking into an investigation outside of the Department of Justice. Who knows how long that's going to take. and they're not just investigating Fulton County Jail. I haven't been able to locate any of her family's legal representation. I don't even know if her family's been notified because that was an issue as well that happened with LaShawn Thompson when he died. His family wasn't
She's in
notified for quite some
Florida,
time.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Z Walker on Facebook said she was actually at the Atlanta Detention Center. Do you have that information?
No, from what I was, the information I gathered, she was at the Fulton County Jail. So with the women, they are held at Fulton County Jail. There's two different locations. So you have Fulton County Jail that's located on Rice Street, where you go to for holding, and then when you're dressed out, men are housed there and women are housed at another facility. The last I checked, there was a facility in South Fulton where women were housed. That has been closed because of the conditions that were going on in that facility. So I don't know where the women's facility is. However, all this is a part of the Fulton County jail system.
So let me ask you this: for the attorneys that were involved, like in the LaShawn Thompson case, have you had any contact with them and following this young woman's death and their take on this?
Yes, I have. So I did speak with attorney Gerald Griggs. He is not representing this case. However, he has seen some news stories, and like me, there's not a lot of details that are out about this young woman, which is sad because here we are a year later, less than a year later, we have another inmate that has died. There's been several others that have died.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these particular individuals are black. Both of these particular individuals were awaiting trial. They had not been charged yet. They were awaiting trial. That's what a lot of other people don't understand is this jail houses inmates who are waiting for trial, or who have not posted bond, or both.
Mm.
So they're not necessarily guilty of a crime, yet they're dying while waiting for their court date. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But I hope that once you get some more information, you'll bring this back and we can, hear a little bit more detail on this. It's a quizzical and maddening and unjust thing to think about two young people, especially dying under such mysterious circumstances. So I hope that we can get some more information and that you'll be able to scoop it out and suss it out to get more information on this, and I appreciate it. Um, in explaining to people what we do and how all of this came to mind Thursday. I wanted to thank all of the women at Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was presented with an award for the work that we do in telling our stories, and in the years that I did previously and as well as now. And it was really gratifying that, once I told them, a lot of people didn't know about the newsletter. A lot of people don't know about our evening show. And so um, it was incumbent upon me to tell people, thank you very much for this award. But also, I would, if it's okay, I'd like to ask a favor of you to subscribe to our newsletter and to watch our evening show. And a lot of the women, as I was talking, were subscribing, and so that's good to know. And another thing that we ask you is that when you do subscribe and the newsletter comes in your email box every Monday through Friday morning, please open it. The open rate is very important to us as well. So open it, read the stories, and then and don't just pass it on. Give subscriptions to other people. That would really help. So that helps us in promoting the newsletter as well. Among the other things that we talked about in the newsletter today, the day before I was in Indianapolis, the vice president was there. The day of, actually, she was there for the luncheon on that Thursday, and she gave an incredible speech. As an AKA, came before the women of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and talked about the familyhood of all of the members of the Divine Nine, the nine historically black fraternities and sororities. And she is an AKA speaking before Delta Sigma and talking about a number of things that affect women. First of all, the black maternal mortality rate, which is 3 times higher than white females. Talked about the banning of books that our children are not having access to as a result of the
Mhm.
banning of books in our schools and libraries. And then the most important story that has come out most recently is that of the state of Florida and their teaching of Black history in the state under Ron DeSantis. And so much so that they talked about the fact that it's revisionist history and how they are choosing to mold and to change what is a horrific time for Black folks before we were African American, before we were uh, Black, before we were colored. They called us the N word and we were their slaves. And during that time, this was when our ancestors were owned by white people. We did their bidding and did the business on their in their businesses, on their farms, and in their homes. And the effort now by the state of Florida is to change the dynamics of ownership of slaves to say that what they learned, they benefited from slavery. This was a benefit to them after slavery was over. But it only took 400 years for that to happen. So, one of the examples that Governor DeSantis has used in his defense of all this is saying that there's a blacksmith. This is someone who worked with horses and the they giving the horses the horseshoes and what have you um, to protect their hooves. This was a benefit because after slavery, he was able to take this and use this in this knowledge that he gained from working for Mr. John and in his own business, neglecting the fact that he was treated so poorly and not as an equal employee, but as uh, someone who was owned by a white man and not understanding that for the most part all of the other things that came with ownership and knowledge of a business that wasn't a part of his experience. All of this is an effort to not make people feel so bad about slavery, not to feel so bad about the massacres like Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Rosewood, Florida. And this is what the vice president is now on the road. She went to Jacksonville, Florida the next day at an African American theater and museum. One where I've been in Jacksonville, and I believe this is where the "Lift Every Voice and Sing" the Negro National Anthem was written. And there is a great deal of information about the brothers that wrote "Lift Every Voice and Sing," the words and the music, as well as other Black facts and people of history in that community. I can't remember the name of it. Starts with an L, the neighborhood where it is, but it was at the Ritz Theater. And this is really important that she go there to the heart of Florida. If you look at Jacksonville geographically, it's considered one of the hearts of Florida, and goes there and talks to Black people and people of color about how they are being discriminated against still in the education program. So that is how we do inform and empower people talking about these things. And I would love for you to take a look at that story in particular. And some of the others, as I mentioned, Coy is our social justice contributor, talking about what's going on in the prison system in the Atlanta area, but it's not just even though Atlanta is her home, it's she's not just closed off to that part of the country. And Cameron is also a political writer, Cameron Riley, and in the newsletter, he is going to be talking about the injustices wreaked upon Black people in New York City and what the mayor is going to be looking at. We also talk about very general things like the weather, because that affects all of us, and especially those of us who are older or have older relatives, and what the effect that the weather is having at um, temperatures of 130 degrees plus in the deserts of this country, and how it's not only affecting people in the United States, people on vacation in foreign countries are really feeling the effects in Greece and Italy and other countries like that. And so please take a look, and also keep in mind this is climate change and we're in the midst of it. And what are we going to do about it? A health update about the racial gap in who gets critical treatments after having suffered a stroke. And there is a blood clot dissolving drug that white people get 5% more times than Black people in enabling them to recover from stroke. So, and this is from our Black Health Matters section as well. So, all of these things are in the newsletter. We'd love to have you subscribe and to be a part of it, as well as to pass the word along about what we are doing. And we really appreciate that. Because, especially we have young people who are doing such great work. Coy, obviously, as I said, is a social justice. Cameron talks politics. Cameron's younger sister is a Delta. Got to shout her out at the event on Thursday. Quinn Townsend Riley is our LGBTQ plus contributor, and Aprilette Russell is our mental health and wellness contributor. So take a look and all the good work these young people are doing as well. So thank you, Coy, for all that you do. Let us move on and talk about what's really going on. And the question today is has to do with what's been happening in the news. Um, have you ever been caught in a lie that you told, or have you ever been involved in a lie that got out of hand? And what brought this to mind is the Carly Russell case. This is a young woman, and myself included, who we all got sent out the notice that Carly was missing. Carly was a young woman who was supposedly driving home in her Hoover, Alabama town. Uh, Called family members and told them she saw a toddler walking along the freeway and wearing a diaper. And she stopped, according to her report, to check on the toddler. And that was the last her family heard from her. She also called 911 to report it. This happened on a Thursday night. And by Saturday or Sunday, she turned up at her family's home. And it turns out that this was a hoax. This was not a true story. And people are still trying to figure out what happened, and she has not come forward. But her the kidnapping, as she is reported to the police, has did never it never occurred. She reported missing after calling 911 to report the toddler on the interstate. Reportedly fabricated the whole story, according to her attorney. The police held a press conference addressing the public regarding the Russell disappearance and her efforts to find her since July 19th. So my question to you, Coy, and to the viewers tonight and the listeners: have you ever told a lie that got out of hand, or have you ever been involved in, someone has brought you into something that got out of, which turned out to be a lie?
Mm, a lot that got out of hand. So when I was in high school, um, I decided to skip class one day, me and my best friends, my friend group, because we had a substitute teacher in biology class. It was like in ninth grade. So we didn't really skip school. We just kind of skipped class. We didn't even go far. We went to the library on campus at school. So, and that's what I used to do. When I skipped class, I would go to the library or I would go to the band room. Go figure. So we got caught, of course, because we were in magnet. We were magnet for high achievers, so we're supposed to be in every class. There's like no room
And
for
do they
error.
take attendance every class?
Yeah, they take attendance, and like we don't have. There were no other students that really took these particular classes at these times. So if we showed up like first period and second period, but you weren't at third or fourth period, but then you're at the school for the rest of the day, why did you miss this one class? So I like, listen, don't tell them that we skipped and went to the library. Just say we were there or whatever. And my
So
best
just say
friend,
we were there or whatever. So
yeah,
tell
just
me, just
I forgot
say
what the excuse was, but I was like, just say this. I had it all thought out. I was like, oh no, just say this. And my best friend was so like, oh my god, we're gonna get in trouble. And when they were questioning her and me, like in the little conference room with me and her, and I could see her sitting across the table going like this. I was like, oh gosh, she gonna fold, man. She gonna crack. And she did. And so finally they were like, we know you skipped school,
you skipped
saying my whole
class.
name. You skipped class, so you got to sign this, and y'all got in school suspension. I mean, I was denying it up until the time I had to sign it. I mean, I was denying it when I was in school suspension. Like, this is so stupid.
What did your parents say? What did they
They were
do?
like, you just stop. Like, whatever it is that you were trying to do, just stop. But I don't even think I really got in trouble because like I said, I would skip class and go to the band room, or I would go to the library. That was like just something I never skipped to, like, I think I did like senior skip day once and went to
But you
the
were allowed
mall.
to skip that day.
Not really, because the
You weren't
administrators
allowed to
were
skip on senior skip day as a senior.
no, the administrators were threatening everybody would get in school suspension. So what I did, I came up with a smart plan that while everybody else is going to the park where the administrators expect that and you're going to get caught because that's where they showed up, we went to the mall in the good neighborhood where nobody was, and we didn't get in trouble. And we didn't do anything crazy either. We just walked around, window shopped.
Why?
I
Why?
never really did anything like
But
that
I don't
growing up.
understand how
So
you have senior skip day and they don't want you to skip.
yeah, I don't, I think because of where I grew up is right
Uh,
outside of Atlanta, and a lot of these kids were, their parents are like former inner city citizens and what have you. So it was still kind of like hood, as you like to call it, and a lot of them got in a lot of trouble, a lot of stuff that they did that I steered clear from.
uh-huh.
So I think that's why, like, I didn't really get in trouble. Like, if I missed a class and I, went to the library or band room, I still kept my grades were still, I was still on honor roll. I was still in high achievers for magnet. I was still in my AP classes. I still got my music and academic scholarships. So it's not much that I think was really a worry for my parents. I put it like that.
But you had in school suspension and you couldn't skip on senior skip day as a senior.
Well, that's what they said, but I did it. But yeah, I had in school suspension for like 2, 3 days.
That I don't know.
Skipping at the
Yolanda,
library.
do we skipping or the band room? Yeah,
Or the bedroom. Yeah,
yeah.
when I started doing it at the bedroom, they didn't even care no more. They're like, yeah, whatever. They didn't even care.
She's not going anywhere.
I'm not
She's
going
not.
nowhere. No,
Yeah.
just going to go play my saxophone or some other
Right,
instruments.
right.
Read a book.
You now I help people get out of school because I had penmanship that was pretty adult. I didn't have the hearts over the eyes and things like that. So um, I would help people get out, and I never did it, but I wrote notes for them to be able to get out. I never got caught, but that was just I was just trying to help others get out, and see that it wasn't that big of a deal for me. So we're asking, have you ever been a part of a lie that kind of got out of control, or did you ever come up with a lie and it got bigger and out of hand? And the reason why we're asking that is because of Carly Russell. This is a young woman who went missing July 19th. She was driving home from work as a massage therapist and told her family and the police that she saw a toddler walking along the side of the freeway, and she was going to stop and ask what happened. This is what she told her family. This is what she told 911 operator. And when they got there, the car was there, all of her things were there, but there was no sign of Carly, this 20-something-year-old Black woman. And so I just wonder, and maybe people can help me with this, and maybe you can help me with this. What goes through your mind when you are thinking, I've had it. I got to get out of here. Uh, I've got to come up with a lie. I've got to come up with a story, um, so that I can leave and not come to work tomorrow, so that I can not have to go home and explain myself to my parents, so that I can just go somewhere and just decompress and then come back. And how do I do that? And how does it, in your mind, seeing a baby, or saying that you see a baby walking along, a toddler walking along the freeway, and nobody else is calling, no one else has made this declaration according to 911 later. And so, as it turns out, she made the whole story up. So have you ever been, Coy tells us about high school, in which she told not to get out of school so much, but to not go to class when she had a substitute. So have any of you ever been that? Raina Kennedy on Facebook said mental health is a serious issue in this country. Yes, ma'am, it is.
It is.
And I think that, it's something that we, on our staff, take very seriously, because we do have mental health and wellness stories, as well as my partner, business partner Yolanda, is one who is very involved with mental health and wellness as well, and looks out for our mental health and wellness, to the point, our programming meetings actually turned out to be more like therapy sessions in some respect, than to talk about the mechanics of the newsletter or the TV show.
I think I've seen some stuff about this case recently that was suggesting that she was going through some type of breakup with her boyfriend, and
Hmm.
he had started, dating somebody else. She had gotten into a verbal back and forth with the other young lady, and so this is like a sympathy cry pull to get his
Hmm.
attention. I liken this to women who fake pregnancies
Mm.
after a breakup.
Hmm.
Um, Rejection can cause people to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and the more public it is, the more drastic or painful it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Michael Stallworth on Facebook, I think some people become so desperate to the point where they suspend logic or rationality in whatever eventual decisions they make. Yeah, they kind of lose it and lose touch with the reality. Yes, Michael. Originally, Russell's attorney, Emery Anthony, told police that she would be meeting to speak with them this afternoon, and he opted to deliver a written statement on Carly's behalf. The chief of police read the statement aloud to the media. The 25-year-old Russell disappeared shortly after she called 911 to report the sighting of the toddler walking down. Is it Interstate 459, or is a main expressway route in Hoover, Alabama? She said there was no kidnapping on July 13, 2023. The lawyer said, my client did not see a baby on the side of the road. My client did not leave the Hoover area when she was identified as a missing person. My client did not have any help in this incident. This was a single act done by herself. My client was not with anyone or at any hotel with anyone from the time she was missing. My client apologizes for her actions to this community, the volunteers who were searching for her, to the Hoover Police Department and other agencies, as well as to her friends and family. We ask for your prayers for Carly as she addresses her issues and attempts to move forward, understanding that she made a mistake in this matter. And Carly again asks for your forgiveness and prayers. Also, there was a crowdfunding, or amount of money of $60,000. This crowdfunding effort, over $60,000, and everyone is going to get their money back, according to the officials. This money did not go to Carly's family to help in the search, since it ended so quickly, I guess. The most distressing part of all is that the police department is now considering criminal charges against Carly Russell.
Good gracious.
Aubrey W. on YouTube says, I got caught in a lie when I covered for my daddy when he was creeping with another woman, and my mama found out and poured hot water all
Ooh.
over him. I was 7 at the time. You
Jeez.
covered Now, let me ask you this, Aubrey. Did you know what your dad was doing when you were covering for him? Because I can't imagine at 7, he's like, look, little man, I'm going to be over here with this lady, not your mama, and I need you to cover for me. I don't know what that looks like. And if children are so uh, attuned to their parents that they understand or mature that they understand what that is. But that's an Al Green situation that
I
just
know.
was
And it's just the fact that not only was this man cheating on his wife, but now you're doing it to the point where your children can see your young
right.
imagine
Yeah,
the effect that it has on a child to
yeah.
see
Aubrey,
their parent betraying the other parent.
what you doing in your private life these days? I'm kidding. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. But that's a lot for a kid to even do at age 7. That's a
Right.
lot. Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
Okay. Um, so now, thank you for participating and thanks for revealing your horrid past, Coy, in high school. We'll now move on to trending topics, and the U.S. has announced that it is suing the state of Texas after Governor Greg Abbott declined to remove the floating border barrier on the the Grande River, which is the water that migrants cross over from Mexico into Texas.
Right.
The lawsuit filed in Austin federal court alleges the barrier was installed without necessary authorization from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And because Texas installed the floating barrier without seeking the Corps' authorization, the Corps and other relevant federal agencies were deprived of the opportunity to evaluate risk the barrier poses to public safety and the environment, mitigate those risks as necessary through the permitting process. This is a lot of legalese. The federal government is suing the state of Texas and the governor for this. And not only because these barriers are dangerous and people's businesses are affected by this because there are people who use the river for various types of water sports, but they're dangerous because of the wire that was a part of the buoys there and the barriers that became dangerous, and people became hooked and ripped parts of their bodies as a result of trying to get across the river. These the wire barriers were extremely dangerous for children as well as adults. And now this is part of the story that came out last week when a state trooper revealed in emails to news outlets that this is what the state government was doing and not allowing them to help people and only give people water when it was a medical necessity. This is pretty hardcore. And Texas says, well, we have every right to do whatever we need to do to keep migrants out of this country. I
Not at the expense of human rights.
and Coy, think about a year ago, we were talking about the story in which the Texas Rangers were on horses and they were rounding up black people from Honduras, from Haiti, and other countries trying to get into us and looking like they were slave traders, you
Right.
know. And uh, if it's not one thing, it's another way to pose danger and to put people in dangerous circumstances.
This is just ridiculous. The fact that, like I said, at the expense of human rights doesn't make any sense. And good. Now the country is all eyes on Texas. Let's do something
Once
about it.
again,
We've been saying
yeah.
this for so long.
So here's another story I'm going to do, but this is what I'm wondering: how high this case will go? Will it go to the Supreme Court? And will the state of Texas follow the rules of the Supreme Court? Because in Alabama, they're supposed to give a second um, voter election congressional district to black people in Alabama, and the Republicans are saying, "No, we're not going to do it." How can you do that? How can you say, "I don't care what the highest court in the land says. We're we're not gonna draw this district for black folks." Where they do that at? And I
In
did say
places that
that.
are run by racists.
Well,
Places run by racists.
places run by racists. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and what kind of conclusion the federal government and the state of Texas will come up with.
Well, we do
Um,
have to remember the state of Texas was at one point in time motioning to secede.
and still talking about it.
They're still oh
Still
god.
talking about succession. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when that happens, don't call us when the cartels invade Texas
Yeah.
and take over
Yeah.
because you have
Yeah.
no U.S. protection at that point.
I think I'll be moving back to the sunny climes of Chicago by that point. Are you watching the women's soccer?
No.
Okay. I'm excited because I like the new breed, the youngins that have come in and that are playing. Sophia Smith was the star of the U.S. women's team's first game, their first victory, played the other night. And but all eyes are a lot of eyes, not all eyes, but a lot of eyes are on Trinity Rodman. She's on the women's soccer team. She's a forward for the Washington Spirit as well as being on the national team. And during their send off game, she scored both of the two goals that led the U.S. to victory over Wales. Now, in the first U.S. women's soccer team win over Vietnam, Sophia Smith scored two goals, and so the youngins are in there doing their thing. These things, Sophia Smith and then Trinity Rodman. Trinity Rodman is a part of sports royalty. Her dad is the ever effervescent and quizzical Dennis Rodman. That's
Mm-hmm.
her dad, who has knows a bit about winning championships. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes on. And the last thing I do want to tell you about is a cookie recall from Trader Joe's. They have recalled because some cookies may contain rocks.
What?
You heard me. Rocks. First, when this, I don't know when the company decided they were going to start making cookies outdoors. And that's the only place I can think of is that rocks would fall into the product and without people knowing. Where do you have rocks in a kitchen or in a factory? How in the world would you be able to explain this? These cookies, if you purchased or received any of the almond windmill cookies and or the dark chocolate chunk and almond cookies, please put them stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin your appetite and tell you about these rocks that were sold. They're telling you don't eat them. The cookies are no longer on the shelves, and all potentially affected product has been removed from sale and destroyed. But they're also telling you to take them back to the point of purchase, which is Trader Joe's grocery stores. And if you are of a mind to, want to get your money back, that would probably be the best thing. But how do you explain to people or somebody, where's your taste testers? And that doesn't feel like a walnut. That
That sounds like a
listen,
disgruntled employee.
putting rocks in there. Yeah,
Had to.
absolutely. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. All right. So those are some of the stories that are trending. And also one more thing I forgot. I wanted to get your your opinion on this. Florida A&M has suspended all football activities. Have you seen this of the unauthorized locker room rap video that was released? And it has a lot of FAMU paraphernalia, the symbols, the football team. They did it in the off hours, and maybe even some members of the team were a part of allowing this video rap crew to come, a rap video crew to come in and to do this video that is apparently not up to the standards of Florida A&M.
That's a dumb reason. Come on now. This fam we talking about. This is a black
Well,
school.
and perhaps the football coach and others are trying to establish some new rules of conduct, but saying that what may have been okay back in the years past is no longer where we want to present our school and our team.
Come on now. This is Florida we talking about. Do they have guns in the video? Drugs?
Well, it was of the nature that they said did not represent Florida A&M.
I'm gonna watch this video and come back to you on that. Because if it wasn't like guns in there, drugs, violence or something like that, if anything, that type of music video and attention is just gonna drive more attendance to Florida A&M and possibly drive more potential athletes.
Well, I don't know if it'll draw the athletes, but it certainly is drawing the attention and not the kind of attention that the school wants. All activities, um, and they say that have been suspended. So I guess that is, practice and any kind of activities that the student athletes are involved in. The video is recorded by the rapper Real Boston Richie, entitled Send a Blitz. Support for free speech. According to the head coach, he says he's all for free speech, but the language is not consistent with FAMU's core values, principles, and beliefs. His hope the team will learn from this mishap and will continue to work hard to become the best version of themselves. He says it's a privilege to wear the orange and green, and as a football program, our young men have failed to live up to the standard set before us. They'll all learn from this mishap and will continue to work hard every day to become the best versions of themselves. As a result, he is suspending all football related activities until further notice. Investigation how the football locker room was accessed for filming of the video posted to YouTube and shows Richie in the locker room wearing Florida A&M shirt, donning the team helmets, and several players, FAMU players, appear in the background of the video. And it's unauthorized use of FAMU apparel and logos and violates licensing agreements.
Well, I guess on that aspect, but hurt your own pockets versus
I guess I'm not
punishing
mad
the
at
people
that.
that yeah.
No, well, if you're a team and you were considerate of your team, then you would not have allowed that. And so what you have done affects the whole team. It's sort of like when don't uh, make the right play or whatever, and so you have to run, how many times around the football or around the track, then everybody has to do it, and that is a part of the team. That kind of makes sense to me as a parent. I don't know if people agree, but that is what's trending. Let's move to entertainment right quick. Has anyone? This was a big weekend for Beyonce. Last week was a big week leading up to her shows in Chicago, which I hear were incredible. Anyone? Have you tried her latest perfume?
Not yet.
She announced her first new perfume in almost 10 years, posting the untitled Eau de Parfum to her website for 100 and this might be the reason why we don't. It's $160 per bottle. And she's had successes with the launch of Heat, Pulse, and Rise in 2010, 2011, and 2014, and retail online for about $45, $30, and $22. That's a big jump from $45 to
$160,
$160.
right? Ooh.
And it's described as a harmonious blend of clementine, golden honey, golden amber, and other notes, fragrance notes. So good on them. I'd be curious to smell it. That's if you want to send some this way, B. That's cool. Our jewel of the day: suffering is sometimes a choice, especially when you can ask for help. This is a theme for the week, so be ready to hear about asking for help and not just taking on things all by yourself. Thank you, Coy Malone. We appreciate for taking on the responsibility for sticking around for the show and being a part of it. Chris and Huggy hopefully will return next week. And we wish that you all have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Aloha.